Hi, welcome to another episode of Indie Maker Journey. In this continuation of our previous conversation, Mario and I talk about me pitching Dotplan on Founders Live, some of the benefits of talking about how building your product on Twitter, and some of the pains of bootstrapping an application. Hope you enjoyed the conversation.
I saw your presentation. I thought it was excellent.
Thank you. I have opinions about it after the event, but yeah, I'm glad that I got the message across, kind of thing. It's really hard. So the pitch idea is it's this organization called Founders Live, which comes out of Seattle. Basically they do these online pitch sessions every so often, and they have like 4 to 5 companies pitch for 99 seconds, and then they do followed by Q&A. And it's kind of spreading around the world. There's lots of local ones. So a guy locally has started the Fukuoka one. They're starting the Indonesian one now, and I think there's talks to start Taiwan and Korea as well. So they're trying to create a local Asian network of these things happening as well. So this was, I think it's the 7th or 8th time they've done it.
How did you find out about it? How did they
I was invited.
You?
So yeah, the startup hub that I'm a member of here locally, they basically just contacted me and said, would you be interested in participating in this? I'm like, oh yeah.
Nice.
Any kind of PR is good PR, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was a nice opportunity. And also it's funny, it's the first time I've actually done a public pitch. I've talked to lots of people about it, but it's the first time I've actually just done this elevator pitch idea. So it was challenging to squeeze everything I wanted to say into 99 minutes, but not get distracted. I mean, so I watched a bunch online to get some ideas about what works and what doesn't. So I kind of came on this idea of just doing what's the problem? Why is it worth solving? And then a little bit about what my thing is, without going into too much detail about my product. If the problem captures, is interesting enough, then they'll want to know more, and the Q&A can cover that, right? So that was my theory behind it. I thought rather than just waffling off for 99 seconds about what I'm doing and how great my thing is, then I don't care if it's great if I don't understand why you've got it, why you've built it. So that was my conclusion about how I should pitch it. So I think it's hard because when you're pitching, the software they're using basically shows your slide. So it just shares your screen, similar to this, right? So if you don't see, I can't see anybody else. I can't see any, the person, I'm not pitching to anybody apart from my camera, right? And that's disconcerting for one. It's just, and two, I've got no clock. So I tried to time with I recorded for the hour or two previously, I just kept repeating it, trying to record it, and I'm first time I'm 3 minutes. I'm okay, that's longer than I expected. And so just kind of iterating on that, getting it down to what I thought, what was about 1.5 minutes, and then I'm well, I'll screw up anyway, so that'll expand to 99 seconds anyway. So, and after timing it afterwards, I was almost exactly 99 seconds. So I was quite proud of myself.
Nice.
So yeah, it was fun, and I had some really interesting responses. I got contacted by a bunch of people. A lot of people signed up for beta, early access. I got a few emails from somebody who was interested to talk about potential partnerships. They're launching something in a similar space but a different product, and they're we're launching soon, let's talk after we both launch, see if there's some kind of integration thing. So it was nice. It was nice. It was just people get this. It was nice that there was it was very positive, and people seem to get the why it's worth solving and what my application can help, how that can help solve this problem. So yeah, it was kind of quite affirming, and I left on a higher. It's
nice.
Yeah, it's nice. So we had about 120 viewers live, but after that it's been viewed 700 times on YouTube, so that's nice. So what I also did was I edited my segment out and stuck that on my webpage, just on the landing page, my product, thinking, hold on, this is actually quite a nice way. If somebody does follow it or they get referenced by it from anywhere, that's actually quite a nice, succinct, well, hold on, what am I doing here? There's a wall of text about what the product is, but having me talk about it solves this, how do I explain what it is quickly and easily. And also it makes the product a little bit more personable, right? It's me. It's not just, some company somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and even that's nice. It's had like 30 or 40 views. I've had some signups. I don't know whether that's helped get some extra signups and whatnot, but nice. that was nice to do as well. So I thought that was a positive side benefit of doing that too. It's given me a little taster for, okay, and I think I'm even more convinced now that doing some form of video clips or kind of showing the product or talking about the product, even like little 30-second clips of video, is worthwhile. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. So side product of that, I played with a product called Descript. Have you heard of it? Yeah.
Yep.
That's really clever, man. You actually come from podcasting. You probably know all about it, right?
Yeah. And, a lot of people are raving about Descript and all the AI editing and stuff that they're doing. It's pretty interesting stuff.
It's for starters, its transcription was fantastic. Just being able to get a transcription to stick on YouTube, or to edit it and then be able to stick that on YouTube. YouTube does an auto translation into Japanese, which my wife's like, that's fine. It's absolutely good enough. And there's a few quirks, but nothing to stop it being published and having Japanese subtitles. So I thought that was kind of nice. But then just being able to edit chunks out of it, it's like, well, I don't need to, copy that bit into it, and it automatically edits the video. I just edit the text, delete some sentences, and it just removes it from the video. And I'm like, this is magic.
It's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah. They're doing some crazy stuff there.
So
I've never used it myself, but I know of some people have used it, and they all say that it's like magic. It's all this stuff that they can do.
The UI is a little bit JavaScripty. Obviously, it's not a native app. It's got some, it feels like a React app, for better or worse. But hey, if it means they can iterate and make their product better, then that's fine. And it's it feels like magic. It's like, this is amazing. So that was impressive. And as I said, I think there's been some just interesting discussions followed up from it. So now I'm on the clock. I promised to let some people in within a couple of weeks, and that couple of weeks is coming up soon, right? So I'm like, all right, okay. Again, I'm gonna personally onboard them with. It's amazing when you know this well, right? You're like, oh, everything's ready, everything's there's no reason, and then you suddenly see all of the things which actually, I really need to get that finished. So I'm trying to get all of those into a good enough state that I can get. Again, like you said, I want the feedback to be productive and constructive, and not just telling me stuff I already know. Well, I can't do that. Yeah, I know you can't do that. So I'm trying to remove those from the equation, and then any feedback I'd get is actually worthwhile and worth acting on, right? So that's my goal for the letting people on board, rather than the product being finished. I just don't want the obvious feedback of like, oh, that doesn't work. Yeah, I know.
That's like what we were talking about earlier, getting some of these improvements based on the feedback that I already got into the product. And then that way the feedback that comes later, it's already on top of that and not the same thing over again. Stuff that I already know.
Exactly.
If you already know it's not doing that, or it's already on your list.
The frustration is that it's not that it's not good feedback. It's just that they're doing the surface level, right? And you want the stuff that's below the surface. You don't want them to say, well, that doesn't work properly. You want them to say, well, it would be better if it did this, right? So you want them to go just one layer deeper, and they'll stop at that surface layer, and it's like, no, please, I want more. Because I know there's more, and I know you want to tell me more, but they don't feel as comfortable, and this and this and this, right? So I'm kind of flat out. My evenings are going a bit not enough sleep happening. Just trying to get that out, and it's getting close now. It's amazing how that sharpens your mind as to what the user experience is of it, right? It's like, okay, they sign up, what do they see, and then on a daily basis, what do you want them to, when they hit your page for the first time today, what are you leading them to do? So that, it's amazing how much more focused I've become on that than 3 weeks ago, when it's like, yeah, it's almost ready. And now it's like, okay, well, now I have to think about that. Now as that's actually impending, it makes you see that much clearer. So deadlines are good, right?
Yeah. So when is this deadline?
It's kind of a self-imposed deadline of end of this week, beginning of next week-ish. So yeah, I want to let people, I really would like some people on it next week. So it's definitely going to be friendly people.
Yeah. So are you planning on scheduling a demo, kind of like what I've been doing, similar?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Because again, I want to explain the expectations I have of, what I hope to get back from them as well. So that's my intention, is to try and set up some of these. So I've got a reasonable list of people to choose from now. So I don't want to open the floodgates too much, but I want, a handful of people to give some good feedback. So in mind.
Yeah, I feel like a 5, at least for me, I think like a batch of 5 people has worked well for me. Out of
because you'll probably get like 1 or 2 that don't actually use it, even though they intended to, right?
Yeah,
so you don't want to get it like that's all of your customers. So you want a little bit deeper than that.
And some may not respond. So out of the 5 that I messaged out, 1 of them didn't respond yet. At least they haven't responded, but the other 4 did and scheduled, and tomorrow's my 4th one. So, so I think it's a good number, and a good amount of feedback coming back, to you to work on. I don't know. For me, I think a 5 is a good number.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And then,
as you say, there'll be some no-goes from that anyway. So you got to expect that.
Yeah. And then
if you do 3, that you could always get 3 no-shows, right?
Yeah. And I'm using Calendly to put my schedule out. And whenever my schedule changes, I go in there and adjust it, and, trying to manage that. Hopefully no one schedules something for a time that all of a sudden, I can't do it because of work commitments or whatever, or meetings, but you can always reschedule if that happens. But
exactly.
So far,
I actually signed up for Calendly last week for almost exactly this case. It was like, hold on, how do I actually arrange something, especially since not everybody's local, various time zones and stuff. So it's expensive as a product, right? It surprised me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm using the free version still.
I was on the pro trial, right, for however long, and it's like, I think the free version is enough for what I need, but it was surprising me just how expensive a product that is for it was just more surprising. Surprised me. So along with that also, I was like, okay, if same as what you said, I need to go from my dev test staging setup to an actual production one. So a nice side benefit of the Founders Live pitch was they are basically part of AWS Activate program and the Google Cloud Startups program too. So by participating in it, you can effectively get the same thing happens if you're in an incubator or a VC fund or something, that they have. It's one of those things where if you're a solo founder with no backing, you get like nothing, or like tiny, you get a few credits. If you've got 10 million VC, you get loads of free credits. And it's like, hold on a minute, anyway. Surely it should be the other way around, but no. Okay. So either way, it actually is a decent amount of AWS credits. It's a little less than Google Cloud credits. So, because I'm using GigElixir for my hosting, I can't use that for the actual servers, but I can for the database and S3 and DNS and failover and load balancing, all that kind of stuff. So, so it's nice that basically, like, set up. Normally, database would be like, can I afford like one layer up in RDS? And it's like, nah, I'll just give you the big one. I can always go down later when I've got to pay for it, right? But it's 2 years worth. The credits live for 2 years, so hopefully at that point, I can afford it, right? But just being able to spend a bunch of money on a decent database server with failover. So even during maintenance, it doesn't go down or anything. So backups and monitoring and all that. It's just like, I'll have everything because I'm not paying for it. So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's just it's one less thing to have to pay for, right? Obviously, it lasts for 2 years, and obviously after 2 years, suddenly you have to start footing the bill. But 2 years, it should get. As I said, if I'm not in a better position in 2 years' time, then I'm doing something horribly wrong, right? So,
well, the hope is that you will be there, and it'll work out.
Yes. So that was a nice benefit from that as well. And also it's got like the AWS Activate plan gets like Airtable credits and a few other things like that. So it's like, okay, there's a bunch of nice side effect credit things that come along with that too. So I'm like, sign up for all the things, claim all the credits.
Nice.
So I'll take anything I can get right now. It's I have no shame.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it goes in the beginning. We gotta take advantage of every opportunity like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website. Looks good. You got the video going on there on the homepage.
I was interesting just to see how many views it's had, and because YouTube, because I stuck it on YouTube, you can get impressions and how long they've watched for, and you can basically get like it's a scary. It's one of those things when you see a little bit. I've never published on YouTube or anything before, and now as I've done it, it's like, oh crap, there's all of this like data that people are getting on my video viewing, right? And so it's like, oh, when they realize I skipped past all of that, oh, okay, interesting. So the interesting thing is, because the pitch is 99 seconds, most views are actually staying for that. They'll either skip through or just watch little bits of the Q&A, but almost all the views are actually watching the whole of the pitch session, which was interesting to see. So that was nice.
Nice.
So, I was amazed how just that people actually did respond to that. I mean, people are obviously finding the site through me. I get a lot of visits to the site from my Twitter bio.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's and apparently the link was broken last week. Somebody informed me. I'm like, smooth, nice one, Alan. That's cool. When I did the pitch, I changed because I was defaulting to the Japanese page before, and when I did the pitch, I'm like, it's in English, I should default to the English page. I've got it so when it goes live, the changed one, it'll switch automatically. It's just because it's hosting on another service, it doesn't do that. So I'm like, okay, right, I should default to English. So I changed that, and I forgot to change the link. Yeah, really smooth, huh? But looking at the analytics, most of the visits I get are through that. Go straight to .plan. And I had a couple of tweets earlier this week that seemed to do really well, like 1,000 likes and a few hundred retweets or something. So even though they're completely unrelated, people do visit the link in the bio, right? So it's surprising just how many clicks it gets from that. So you should tweet.
I know. That's a whole other conversation on social media. Twitter.
If you have a referral scheme,
Twitter is the only social media account that I have left. I deleted all my social media accounts a couple of years back, including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
I've been close to it a number of times. Twitter's the only one I'm kind of. I get a lot of value out of it personally. Just a lot of people I know, and I've got some good friends on there and stuff. So it's the hardest one for me to consider walking away from.
And that's
everything else I don't need.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and that's why I still have it. I'm holding on to it because I have learned a lot from people that I've met on Twitter, things that they post that are related to my career and the work that I do. And I've learned really good stuff, valuable information. So that part of using Twitter, I really appreciate. I've met a lot of people too, and not in person, of course, but just it's a good way to stay on top of what's happening in my field of work. So it's great for all of those reasons. But at the same time, there's a bunch of nonsense going on in these social media platforms, but
unfortunately that doesn't just happen online, right?
Yeah. So it's a matter of finding ways to filter stuff out. So Yeah. One of the things that I'd like to do is at some point get a Feedbin account and just use that to access information on Twitter instead of using the actual Twitter, and just follow the people that I want to follow and just read the stuff that I'm interested in that way, and not even open Twitter anymore, just use Feedbin.
You're doing it by proxy, right?
Yeah.
I just find it people do respond well to the right kind of content. And so, I try to, I'm no master tweeter, but over time, people respond well to things that are either slightly interesting observations or are just random, or it's actually useful to people. And it's like, I guess it's like blogging or anything. It doesn't happen overnight, but just being in people's mind when they think about something, it's a good way of just being there when, so they, everybody, I'd like to think everybody thinks, oh, what's Alan doing now, right? But they obviously they don't. But because I tweet often enough, people are curious about what I'm doing, to the point where when I do mention something relevant, then people will retweet it because they know what I'm doing. People know I'm trying to start a company. I'm doing this on my own. I'm bootstrapping. So when I do tweet something relevant to my business, it'll generally get retweeted by followers that are kind of following along with what I'm doing. So that kind of amplification has really helped just get people to visit my website and put their email address in. So it's you never know where those customers are going to come from, right? So I just found to be the least awful of social networking things.
Yeah, I agree completely.
As you said, it's the only one that you're actually still on, so something to be said for that.
Yep, that's right. I gotta do a better job at communicating what I'm working on. That's something I haven't been doing.
Yeah, we talked about doing a bit of indie hackers as well, and that's something I really should do more of as well. Well, I should do, not do more of. I should actually do. So I'm going to try and force myself to post to that this week, just as an intro, and just because I'm getting ever closer, and usually we're getting ever closer to actually letting people in, right? So
yeah,
and
it's a good time to do it.
I think so. I didn't want to do too early, just because it becomes this, like, people get like, oh, God, still, why don't you launch something? Both of us unfortunately have products which they're not like this super simple does one thing application. In hindsight, maybe that would have been a better thing to launch as a first product, right? It's something that it would only take a few months to get out in a finished state. Unfortunately, we've both got products that are either technically or just they have a large surface area. So a lot of talking about it too early, people just are like, still.
Yeah.
Especially bootstrapping, when it's not like you can spend 10 hours a day doing this, right? It's 2 or 3 some days.
That's the thing. It takes a long time because you can only do it on your spare time, pretty much. And people sometimes don't understand that. And
sometimes my brain just doesn't work after. Especially like other work can be so mentally demanding as well, and then you get about and I've got to think about this too. Your brain's not working. It's hard.
Yeah, I used to get pretty annoyed when some friends would ask, hey, how's it going with such and such you're working on, and every time I would have to tell them, like, well, it's going, but not, it's getting there, but. And when are you going to launch it? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I can't.
It's like, how is your novel coming along? Oh, yeah, I've almost finished.
Yeah.
I should probably start that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
And sometimes it's, like you were saying, deadlines are very important, but it's so hard to set deadlines. I find it hard to set deadlines for myself because this stuff, I'm only doing it on my spare time. So what good is it if I set some hard deadline when it may not happen because I don't get enough time to work on it,
Some weeks, it's been, over the past few months, there's some weeks where I've literally not touched the thing for a couple of weeks at a time, just because it's like I literally have no time, or and I have kids and things and other life happens around it, and you're like, it's just not absolutely not viable sometimes. But I think that's the nice thing about bootstrapping is that you're doing this for yourself, not just because someone's, above you kind of saying, well, you have to launch. Now it's like, no, I want to do the right thing for the right reasons. I'm doing this for myself and for my family, not for somebody else. So it'll be worth it.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep telling yourself that.
Right on. No, it will. I think it will.
Cool, man. I think things are coming along really well. And I say, let's get this thing out. Let's get this podcast out. We've got no excuse.
Yeah. Well,
so what do we want to do about that? Yeah, how do we want to let's actually get some practical thing. Yeah, what do we need to do? You've got a URL, right? You've got a name. You're on top of it.
Yeah, so I still have indiemakerjourney.com.
Transistor?
With Transistor, yeah.
Oh, right.
I'll add you as a team member in Transistor so you can have access to it too. But I think the next thing that we need to do in order to launch is record our introductions and talk about who we are and the products that we're working on. So why don't we schedule a session?
Let's do it early next week or something. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, like a specific session to do that. We'll just have an extra meeting next week.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Cool. Excellent. Nice one.